tax revenues, and so it's even going to be better further out. So they have the most favorable kind of way that they're going to look at the math for themselves. What this is today that is so critical, this is sort of the first word to the federal agencies, telling them what to get ready for. There's some reporting out there that the State Department could see huge cuts. And what that tells me is the worldview of this president. He has promised this. He wants to build up military might. He wants to scale back diplomacy. You know, the State Department budget, I think, is what, $50 billion a year or something when you look in the foreign assistance and everything. The military part of it is $600 billion a year. That just shows you the worldview of this president. And he, right, exactly. Yeah.
We should learn a lot more in the next 24 hours when we see this outline. Christine Romans, thank you so much for being with us.
You're a vision in red. You've got him circled.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at this.
You can catch her tomorrow morning, early start, 4 a.m. Eastern.
Really, the show's better than ever, early start, I'm told.
Because you're sleeping in.
Yeah, it's better than ever.
Let's discuss now. Democratic Congressman William Keating of Massachusetts joins us. He also sits on the House Homeland Security Committee. Very nice to have you on with us. How do you see this? I'm assuming you don't. I'm assuming you think this is.
Well, first of all, there'll be some details, which we've all been waiting for. We're now transitioning from the campaign rhetoric to actual details. And what's concerning is defense is just not a unilateral kind of vision. General Martin Dempsey, who is the former chair of the Joint Chiefs, was always struck by the fact when he was asked at his nomination what the most important defense issue for our security was in our country. And I'm here, you know, in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. So important for our country, as well as cutting back on environmental matters too, because that affects our economy as well. We're weakening our security, so that weakening the State Department and our diplomacy weakens our security. So we have to look at this as a comprehensive plan. But the political side of this, where you have revenues that are as reported so far, revenues that are predicated on cuts in taxing and things. We've seen that act before. We saw it dating back to voodoo economics. We've seen it in terms of trickle down. It just has never worked. No economist worth their salt really believes in that. And if that's what's going to be the revenue projections that's used, we're going to have trouble. And there'll also be trouble on the far right with some of the spending too, with the Freedom Caucus, because they look very carefully at the deficit that's being run, and they could run into a roadblock there as well.
Well, we will ask them about offsets, if they're willing to vote for this without offsets in some of the spending. But as part of this, Congressman, President Trump apparently does not want to make any cuts at all, not a cent, to Social Security or Medicare. Is that something you can support?
Well, I certainly believe in keeping them at the levels they should be at. But here's another question I'm asking myself, and I think a lot of people will be asking themselves. With the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, that's been one of the major issues of trying to keep Medicare under control and the whole direction of treating the person that way. That's actually had a great effect on Medicare growth. So if you're repealing the Affordable Care Act, you better factor in that you could be adding to increases in Medicare as well.
So let me ask you about this Wall Street Journal NBC poll over the weekend. The headline is that, yes, this is a president who has a historically low overall approval rating this early in his presidency. However, when you dig into the numbers, it shows some interesting things. One of them is that even though people might not love the man as much, they increasingly like his policies. Their feelings towards the president have improved. And they also said 53% said the media and elites exaggerate problems within the administration. What do you make of those numbers, the argument that increasingly more Americans are seeing this country going in the direction they like?
I think any new president, we're a country of optimism. Any new president has the support of the American public in terms of trying to be effective, to be successful. I think that factors into the polls. So the early stage of that is a factor, I believe. But in terms of long range, there's some real credibility problems with this administration. We've seen it regarding the whole Russia situation in terms of our security. We've seen it in terms of not having an independent, investigation of the Russian involvement and the administration's involvement with that. I think those things are going to have a poor effect unless you see a change in credibility and honesty. There's just been too many contradictions, and if that persists, you're going to see those numbers go down, and the hopes of us all, myself included, that we can go forward successfully as a country will be diminished.
But you do acknowledge, you know, you look at these polls, you look at the stock market, for instance, and you look back at time, more Americans over the last 6 months now than ever see the country moving in the right direction. This is regardless of their views of the president. They think the country is moving in the right direction. Do you think the country is moving in the right direction?
Well, when you listen to people like Warren Buffett and his optimism, his latest report, I hope so. I think we have the strongest economy in the world. Part of the reason we have that strong economy are things like rule of law, transparency here. And as those things get questioned, as they have been in these early days, that's something to look at too.
Yeah. Congressman William Keating, it's nice to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Poppy.
As we mentioned, it is a crucial week for the president. We're going to hear at any moment those details that everyone wants for what the new plan is.
Maybe some of the details, maybe some more broad statements, and we'll get some details later. Plus, the White House trying to crack down on leaks, collecting the cell phones of staffers, telling him do not use encrypted texting apps. And then the best Oscars finish ever, right? I mean, you want a cliffhanger. You want a plot twist at the end. Man, did we get one last night.
Do something.
Oh, I'm not a security guard. I'm a security monitor. I only notify people if there's a robbery. There's a robbery.
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? That's why free credit monitoring isn't enough to protect you from identity theft. At LifeLock, we not only alert you to identity threats, if you have a problem, we'll spend up to $1 million on lawyers and experts who work to fix it. LifeLock. Join starting at $9.99 a month.
It's not a quick fix. It's my decision to make beauty last. Rock Retinol started visibly reducing my fine lines and wrinkles in 1 week. And the longer I use it, the better it works. Retinol correction from Rock. Methods, not miracles.
When we moved, we didn't have anything, so we used OfferUp. We furnished our house with awesome things people nearby were selling, and we got to know our new city.
Now we have furniture and friends.
OfferUp is free to use. Find anything you want nearby.
Marcy Miller has